Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Darian Sandmartin and today I welcome you in this very unusual setting. And this is my office, by the way. Well, today is the last day of my job here at one of the largest Russian oil and gas companies. I work in the middle somewhere between IT and management, and I thought I might share with you my knowledge and experience because some of you might want to get a business degree or maybe work in business management or maybe IT, and my experience for sure is going to be helpful for you because I reached a managing position at my age of 24, and in my opinion you might benefit from me explaining what did I do, what did I study, how did I work to be able to have this cool place and an incredible office as it is. I'm gonna also take you around the office so that you might see with your own eyes what is possible in Russia or in any other country. I'm sure there are also high-tech offices. Now let me take you around. This is how one of the office rooms looks like. There are lots of computers, and you know what my favorite thing is about that? Is that you can have a desk that moves up and down like this one. It's incredible because you can move it up and stand when you are tired of sitting, for example. And this is a telephone booth that everyone can step in and have a call, for instance, without anyone disturbing. Alright guys, so everything started when I decided to get a business degree for my master's. And when I was at my bachelor's, I didn't really like the quality of education. I wasn't really content with it. So I really wanted to step up my game in terms of a career, perspectives and education and all of that, and get into the best business school of Russia and Eastern Europe for my master's, which, by the way, I needed the IELTS test for. My channel currently is dedicated to IELTS preparation and English learning. English is not my native language. Again, my native language is Russian. So I was really dedicated to take this test because it would open for me so many doors, especially the business school of dreams. So I just learned the language pretty much and took the test and scored band 8.0 in just under a month of preparation. If you're interested in how I did that, definitely check out videos on my channel where I explain how I prepared. But for now, I will take you through my career journey and explain everything step by step. So, as you already know, I got into the business school for my master's. All education there was in English, and it was quite a challenge at first. And one of the most important steps that I took at the beginning of my master's degree was to get into SAMS. Now, SAMS is this alliance of, I think, the best business schools all over the globe, and there is only one business school per country that can participate in the alliance, that is a member of the alliance. And if you study in that business school, you also have the opportunity to become a SAMC, so to apply for the SAMS program. What benefits does it give? Well, it gives you the opportunity to study abroad, and I studied in Switzerland in the St. Gallen University thanks to that program. Also, you become a part of the SAMS community, which means you will be invited to closed SAMS events with top management of different companies or with business, or maybe, I don't know, with other famous people or other SAMCs. It's always a good thing to have a community because it means that you have friendly people around the globe who will help you no matter what. Also, as a SAMC, you must have 3 languages under your belt. Which is obviously one English, second your local native language, and third another third language that you choose. In my case it was French, so in order to graduate from SAMS I had to prove B2 level of the French language, of my third language of choice. Another thing that you do in SAMS is that you take an internship abroad. After you graduate from your business school, you finish all your exams, you write a master thesis, you defend it, then you have 2 years to prove the third language command that I have already told you about, and then to also take an internship abroad. All of this really expands your horizons, and it, kind of gives a boost to your master's degree. It's not just a regular master's degree, it's already the one enhanced with the study abroad and with the work abroad and with lots of acquaintances from all over the globe, and you have the third language. So it's kind of, this enhancement to your degree. So if you have the SAMS school in your country, definitely look it up and think about applying, because it helped me a lot. When I studied in Switzerland, I got an offer from a consulting firm in Germany. I think it was Düsseldorf, and I was pretty confident that I would go. But when I came back to Russia for the defense of my master thesis, I received a more interesting offer that I will tell you about in a second. So I was quite diligent when studying for my master's, and I wrote quite an interesting master thesis about the use of blockchain in management. And so when I went back to Russia in order to defend my thesis, there were, as always, representatives of different companies at our defense. Our business school invites representatives from the business so that they can see what students are doing and maybe, invite someone for a job. So there were the representatives of my current company, and they kind of noticed me, I guess. They noticed my topic because they were doing a project that was quite connected with my topic. And then I started working at a consulting boutique. It was a very small business consulting firm in St. Petersburg, where I just wanted to spend the time before I was going to Germany, because at the time I had thought that I would accept my consulting job offer in Germany that was waiting for me to start in autumn, and that was June when I graduated with my master's degree, and I had like 2 months in between, and I decided not to waste time and go work for a consulting company part-time. So I remember one day when I was finished with my work, I went on our social media and I saw a post that my business school kind of conducts an excursion to one of the new offices here in St. Petersburg, and I decided to go, and that was an office of my current company. So when I went there just for an excursion, I just wanted to look around because it was a new fancy office. Can you imagine that the representatives came up to me and they said, "Oh, but we know you. We attended your master thesis defense and we liked you a lot and your job. So we want to offer you to come to us for a job interview." I was very excited, not to say the least, but as you already know, I had the job offer from the consulting company in Germany. So I was kind of iffy. I didn't really know if I wanted to ditch the offer and pursue something else, but I went to the interview nonetheless because I think it's very important to seize all the opportunities that you get in life. So I went to the job interview and I loved it. I loved the team. It was so young. Everyone was like under 25 years old, and they were working on innovative products in IT for the logistics services. And this was something I was quite passionate about, creating and building startups. Even though this was corporate entrepreneurship, still it was entrepreneurship. It was working with startups and it was this creative job. And back then at the time, I was already started thinking that probably consulting is not for me, and I ended up accepting the offer from the oil and gas company and started working as a business analyst here in the company, working on the corporate startups in logistics. And you might be thinking now, okay, Darian, but why didn't you go for that German consulting firm? Why did you decide to stay in Russia? Well, in fact, at that time, I realized that consulting was not for me at all. And that's quite an interesting realization, because I was from the business school that was considered a target school for consulting. It means that everyone who graduates pretty much goes for consulting, and they train people specifically for business consulting jobs. So I was also prone to this, and I was thinking, okay, I should probably go into consulting. What else can I do? But in fact, my decision to work part-time in the consulting boutique in summer was very important. It was such a right step. And I really recommend everyone to take that internship, take that trainship, take that part-time job, because it will give you more insight into the job you want to do, and you will just understand the industry better, the people who work there, the job that you have to do, and all of that. So because I went there, I realized this is not the job for me. Why? Well, first of all, consulting requires you to work with someone else's business problem and solve someone else's business problem, when in reality I have the desire to work on my own products, on my own problems, on my own business. I don't really like this idea of solving someone else's problem and never getting the recognition, never being a person who will be acknowledged for this job, because consulting is when you kind of dive into someone else's business, try to understand it from the inside out, try to give them useful advice and solve their problems, but then you kind of step back and your job is done. And then the business, your client, has to implement your solutions. Second, these solutions might not be implemented at all. You never know what happens next. You spend countless hours and in a very rigid environment, working a lot, creating this solution, and then this solution might not even be implemented ever, which is also upsetting in my opinion, because it means my job goes in vain. So this was the second point. Then the third point kind of tops this up, because consulting is such a demanding job. You have to work literally, I don't know, maybe 16, 20 hours a day. Some people sleep at work, some people go home and sleep for like several hours and then go straight back to work. This is not for me. I am someone who really values my alone time or my time with my loved ones, and I want to be healthy. I want to have time for exercise, for sports, for healthy food, for leisure, for languages, for my YouTube channel. And I don't really want to sell myself to a firm getting back only money. I will not get any recognition back because I will not be seen as a person who really solves this. I will be just a part of the team, a part of the big firm, and I will not get any personal mental satisfaction because it means I solve someone else's problems and I don't work on my problems, if you know what I mean. And then I will only get the money back, and it means I'm selling my life for something I don't really love. So all of that really made me realize I'm not made for consulting, and I'm so glad I made that important decision. And I didn't follow the trend. I didn't go where everyone else went. I found my own path, even though it was not very obvious. Right, but what exactly attracted me at the job in the oil and gas industry? Why oil and gas in the first place? Well, in fact, even though I work in the oil and gas company, I don't really feel that, if you know what I mean, because I work with startups. Again, I work in IT, and that means I get to create my own small startups inside a huge corporation. That is called corporate entrepreneurship. And this is something that is appealing so much more to me than consulting, because with entrepreneurship, I am a person who literally builds a startup. I am someone who creates a product that will be used by thousands and millions of people potentially in the future. And I see the result of my work. I see the product that is being built step by step, and I can use it on my phone or on my desktop, or other people can use it. And you know, I get the satisfaction of seeing the result of my job, which is very important to me. And then 2 years passed, and here I am in a managing position. My current position is called product owner, and that means I'm someone who manages the whole IT product, a whole startup inside the company. So again, I went all the way up from the analyst position to a product manager and then to a product owner, and currently I am responsible for monetization, strategy, entry of different markets, customer acquisition, and customer base growth. These are my areas of responsibility for my product. I also have to build communication with all of the stakeholders, and naturally there are a lot of them because we have quite a big company and every department has something to do with us. So I have to manage a lot of communication, a lot of different, maybe even conflicting interests, and make it work. This position requires a lot of responsibility, and that means I have to be, someone quite calm and someone quite resilient, because there will be a lot of ups and downs on this path. It's not an easy job. It's not a job where you just work with papers all day. No, it is a job that is quite creative. It requires a lot of communication skills, soft skills, conflict management, finance, marketing, all of that. It's kind of mixed in this position. And this is a perfect match because in the reality, all of these skills were taught in my business school, because this is a really managing role and management is something that I was taught. Right, but how did I jump from the analyst to the product owner in like less than 2 years? Well, I'm gonna share with you right now the approach that I took, but again, everyone is different and you might build your career in a completely different way. It doesn't really mean that you must take after me and do literally what I did. No, it was just something that worked for me. So my tip number 1 is to build very solid personal connections, because in a company, you're not just someone doing their job and not speaking to anyone. You're not a computer, you're not a machine. You are a person with feelings, with your hobbies, with your own soft skills and hard skills, with your own identity. And it's very important to acknowledge that other people are also identities. They are also individuals. And that means everyone has their own key to build meaningful connections, to build these friendship or maybe very warm colleagueship. Do we have this word, colleagueship? I don't know. Like when you become close and respectful colleagues, it's much, much better than just be someone who avoids all the communication altogether. So this was my first step. I tried to understand who my colleagues are and build with them some kind of a personal, positive connection. It doesn't mean that I would go out with my colleagues every day. No, not at all. I don't think I have ever gone out with anyone, but it just means that I am at all times respectful, smiling, open-minded. I have this, kind of an extroverted personality. I'm not shy to come up to a person to ask something. And speaking of this, at my first day of job, I did not receive any onboarding at all. I remember I came up to my desk, I sat, and I received an email from my boss saying this: "Hello, deal with it." And they attached a bunch of documents. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do exactly? Because it was my first day ever after university. I didn't really have any experience in this kind of job. And my challenge, I think, in the first month of the job was to understand what to do, to figure out what my job really is, because no one is going to tell you what to do unless there is a very solid onboarding team in your company, which might not be the case. It's not always the case. So sometimes you have to figure it out on your own, and that means you definitely have to come up to people and to ask them for help, which requires, first of all, you to be confident, and then second of all, you to be positive and friendly and nice, because otherwise people will not be glad to help you at all. Okay, my tip number 2 is to take on more and more responsibility step by step. So, of course, you must do your job in an excellent way, in a way that you exceed expectations every time. You go beyond of what is asked from you, so that your colleagues understand that you are the one to go to when things are going badly, because you can fix anything. You are that person that goes an extra mile every time, and I think it's so important to build this image of someone who is a professional and someone who is not indifferent to the company or to the team goals. So I ensured that my job was always excellently done, and then I tried to take up more and more responsibility. meaning that I would come up to my boss and ask, okay, what else can I do? What can I help with? Your boss will be definitely a busy person, so he or she will appreciate a lot if you come up to them and if you offer your help. That will also differentiate you from all the other colleagues, which is quite an important thing when your boss is thinking about promotion, whom to promote. You will be the person they will think about first because you are someone who always is there to help. So I asked and asked and asked around until I had this opportunity to step up a bit, and then a bit more, and then a bit more. I learned a lot. It was a steep learning curve, but it was definitely worth it. So this is how I moved from the analyst to the product manager in like half a year, I think. My boss just realized that I was someone who was the most interested in the product fate. I was working hard to make it work. I was very engaged in its strategy and in its future. And it's so important when your boss sees in you, that passion, that fire that makes you work harder and that makes you really interested in what you're doing. And they also knew that I'm someone who is very reliable, and I'm also someone who has solid soft skills, solid management knowledge. So they were not hesitant to appoint me to the product manager position. And then I had to learn a lot, obviously, about IT product management. And a product manager is someone who takes all the features, all the tasks that the product owner wants to see in the product, and then the manager kind of arranges them and gives the priority to every single task, to every single feature they want to see in the product, and then communicates that to the development team. So I started working with the development team, and I think I had around 10 people there, and that was again a very new thing to me because I was never around IT really. But I was also knowledgeable because I would read a lot about IT. I would read a lot about how product teams worked. So I knew how it is in theory, but then it was my first time to see it in practice. And I'm happy to say that I performed really well. Our team never skipped a deadline. We were always on time with all of our feature development, and I was a person who was also responsible for customer development. Customer development is when you understand who your customers is, when you talk with clients, when you ask them really, deep questions that will give you the insight of how the product must be developed, of what exactly the product will solve as a problem that clients have. And then finally, I stepped up to be a product owner, someone who decides the future of the product, someone who thinks about its strategy long term, who knows the competitors, who decides what the monetization will be, how much money will the product bring, etc., etc. It means now I have a product manager below me, and I am one step up. I think this is an incredible growth in just 2 years, and especially at my 24 years of age. But I also understand that I must move forward. And even though I love my job and I love my product a lot, I received another offer in a huge e-commerce company in Russia. It's the largest one, I guess. It has just IPO'd, and it currently goes through a very interesting stage of growth. It grows like crazy, and I'm invited there to be a product manager, not a product owner, because the product itself is this huge e-commerce store, and there are many product managers. It's not like they have a product owner. They have a CPO instead. You might be thinking, oh Darian, but you're going down from a product owner to a product manager position. Well, in fact, I don't see that as a step down, because first of all, I get to work with a much bigger product. Currently at my job, I work with a very small product that is just being developed, and we don't really have a lot of customers yet. But in the new job, I will deal with a humongous e-commerce store that is growing like crazy because they have just IPO'd, and there are millions of clients across the whole country. I will also work in the team who is responsible for expanding the customer base to other countries. So we will be essentially taking the marketplace abroad, which is also quite an exciting task. And I get offered double my salary, which means, again, I will be growing in terms of the money as well. So I see that really as a growth opportunity. So my tip here is to always try to see growth in things that might not look that appealing at first, but there might be something that means more challenge for you and respectively more growth. Because when you leave your comfort zone, it means you are learning and becoming stronger and better. Now, my next step is to move from St. Petersburg to Moscow, which is the capital of Russia, and I'm scared, to be honest, because I have to look for a new flat, and this is always not an easy task. Now, let's sum it up. I grew from a business analyst position to the product owner position in just under 2 years because I was someone who would take up more responsibility. I was someone who would go an extra mile and go beyond expectations, and I would always build positive relationships with my colleagues. Now, why did I get the job in the first place? Because of the prestigious education that I got, and that was possible thanks to the IELTS test. Now, I really want to encourage everyone to take the IELTS test if you want to get more opportunities and open the world for you. You can study anywhere if there is education in English, and you get lots of interesting job opportunities after that. Definitely have a look at the videos on my channel where I explain my personal approach to the IELTS test that allowed me to score Band 8 in just under a month. Thank you so much for spending your time productively with me. If you have any questions about my career path, or maybe you want a piece of advice about your career, maybe you want to ask me about product management or IT jobs in general, or maybe something between business, IT and management, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Also, don't forget to click the like button if you enjoyed the content today and if you want more vlogs like this on my channel, and I will see you very soon in my next one. Bye!